Imagine a colony of penguins living on Pluto. 15,000 penguins waddling across the surface of this distant world. It sounds like science fiction, but it could be a fascinating experiment in evolution. Why Pluto? It's an extreme environment. Temperatures are incredibly cold. The atmosphere is thin. Sunlight is very weak. By sending penguins to Pluto, we could study how life adapts to extreme conditions. It could teach us about the limits of life and the potential for life beyond Earth. Pluto is a dwarf planet located billions of miles from Earth. It is a cold, dark, and unforgiving world. The surface temperature on Pluto can drop to minus 390 degrees Fahrenheit. That's colder than any place on Earth. Pluto has a very thin atmosphere. This means there is little air to breathe and little protection from harmful radiation from the sun. Sunlight on Pluto is very weak. It would be like perpetual twilight. Penguins on Pluto would face many challenges to their survival. The extreme cold could freeze them solid. The thin atmosphere could make it difficult to breathe. The lack of sunlight could disrupt their sleep cycles and make it difficult to find food. Penguins are adapted to life in cold climates, but Pluto is far colder than even the Antarctic. They would need to evolve new ways to stay warm. Perhaps their feathers would become thicker, or they would develop a layer of blubber under their skin. Finding food on Pluto would be extremely difficult. Penguins typically eat fish and krill, but there are no oceans on Pluto. Scientists would need to find a way to create a sustainable food source for the penguins. To help penguins survive on Pluto, we could create a genetically modified ecosystem. This ecosystem would need to provide food and oxygen for the penguins. One possibility is to create genetically modified algae that could survive in the Plutonian soil. These algae could then be used to feed genetically modified krill. The krill could then be eaten by the penguins. We could also genetically modify the penguins themselves. We could give them genes that would help them to survive in the cold and to breathe the thin atmosphere. Section 5. Natural selection on Pluto. A new chapter in evolution. If penguins were to survive on Pluto, they would need to evolve rapidly. The process of natural selection would favor penguins with traits that help them survive in this new environment. For example, penguins with thicker feathers would be more likely to survive the cold. Penguins with larger lungs would be more likely to survive in the thin atmosphere. And penguins with better eyesight would be more likely to find food in the dim light. Over time, the penguin population on Pluto would change. The penguins would become better adapted to their new home. They might even evolve into a new species of penguin. Section 6. The penguins struggle, adapting to the extreme. The first few generations of penguins on Pluto would likely face very high mortality rates. The weak and the unlucky would perish. Only the strongest and most adaptable would survive. These survivors would pass on their genes to their offspring. Over time, the penguin population would become more resilient. They would be better equipped to handle the challenges of living on Pluto. But evolution is a slow process. It could take thousands or even millions of years for penguins to fully adapt to Pluto. Section 7. The potential of genetic modification. Genetic modification could give penguins a head start in their evolution on Pluto. By inserting genes from other organisms, we could help penguins to adapt more quickly to their new environment. For example, we could give penguins genes from fish that allow them to survive in cold water, or we could give them genes from bacteria that allow them to breathe in low-oxygen environments. Genetic modification is a powerful tool. It could be the key to helping penguins survive and thrive on Pluto. Section 8. The ethics of planetary experimentation. The idea of sending penguins to Pluto and genetically modifying them raises ethical questions. Do we have the right to interfere with the natural world in this way? Some people believe that we should not interfere with nature. They argue that we should let evolution take its course. Others believe that we have a responsibility to use our knowledge to help other species. They argue that genetic modification could be a powerful tool for conservation. This is a complex issue with no easy answers. It is a debate that is likely to continue for many years to come. Section 9. A glimpse into the future. Will penguins inherit Pluto? The idea of penguins on Pluto may seem far-fetched, But it is a reminder that life is capable of amazing things. Life has a way of finding a way, even in the most extreme environments. If we were to send penguins to Pluto, it would be a fascinating experiment in evolution. It would teach us about the limits of life and the potential for life beyond Earth. And who knows, maybe one day, millions of years from now, Pluto will be home to a thriving population of penguins.